Hi there, and thank you for joining us. I'm Carla Castillo. We can all agree that 2020 has been a very different year. For the next half hour, we are taking a look back at some of the most notable stories KBTX told you about this year. And when people look back on 2020, it will be hard to forget about COVID-19. But as Josh Ninke reports, one thing they will hopefully remember is the role College Station played in it.
These same manufacturing processes are being conducted on an even larger scale in College Station, Texas. Today, I'm proud to announce that HHS has just signed a $265 million contract with the Fujifilm Texas A&M Innovation Center, which is quite the place.
It's not every day the president name drops your town, but then again, not many places are doing this kind of work. Fujifilm Diosynth Biotechnologies is one of the few places around the world ready to mass produce a COVID-19 vaccine. Their facility here is partnered with Texas A&M. System Chancellor John Sharp says this won't be the last time that they're called on to help stop a virus.
I mean, every scientist in the world knows that this one was coming, and there's another one coming after this one, and that's what this facility was built for. It was built to mass manufacture vaccines when and if the time came to do it.
The facility expanded this year to produce a vaccine from Novavax. While several companies like Pfizer and Moderna are ahead of them in trials, they're still ready to help.
We're honored that the government has called upon us, our expertise in vaccine manufacturing and viral vector manufacturing.
Novavax is working on stage 3 trials in the UK, while there's been a pause with those same trials in the United States. We're still looking at a late spring, early summer for possible widespread distribution, but that still could be very helpful. The Novavax vaccine doesn't need to be stored at extreme cold temperatures, making it much easier to distribute. We'll just have to wait and see what's next for this important innovation here in the Brazos Valley. Fujifilm's next-door neighbor, iBio, also says they're working on a COVID-19 vaccine, but that's a bit more of a long shot. Their most promising candidate is still in development. Josh Ninke, News 3.
2020 has been a year unlike any other for children going to school. The challenges have been great. McKenna Rodriguez spoke with Brian and College Station ISD teachers about their journey the last several months.
If you ask most teachers to describe a school year during a pandemic,
a roller coaster ride.
A&M Consolidated High School teacher Belinda Pruitt says March was when the big switch to online learning happened.
The first week I was like, I could do another week of spring break, and never having an idea they would shut the school down for the entire spring semester.
That's when she started figuring out virtual schooling.
To learn how to motivate kids to do things when you're not right there with them was definitely something I learned.
After taking the summer to decide on what to do next, both Bryan and College Station ISD are offering in-person or online learning. Bowen Elementary teacher Natalie Potts says it's changed the way her second grade class is structured.
It's still teaching, it's still, focused on the students, but just in fact, the way that we're having to do it has changed so much, and that's just really in the classroom. If you have kids at home as well, that's just a whole new ballgame.
It has been a lot doing in-person and online, but I think I've finally gotten into a rhythm.
Lashwanique Kennebrew says one of her biggest challenges,
I'm trying to learn all of this while I'm trying to teach you. I'm trying to be there for parents that need my support. So it has been heavy. It has been hard. And that's every year, but this year especially.
COVID-19 protocols brought more changes.
Masks on, toys up, that's our little mantra.
My kids love hand sanitizer and getting to use it.
And it's something they've gotten used to.
All those extra things that we have to do are just something that we have to do, and we'll do them gladly.
But despite this roller coaster ride,
it's been really cool to see really how the district has worked together at every level to make it a successful year.
McKenna Rodriguez, News 3.
And God bless all those incredible teachers. Well, there was a lot of uncertainty on whether Texas A&M would play football this year. A big question, would fans be allowed inside Kyle Field? Jessica Grunling shows us how things looked different on game day.
It's great to be back here.
Wonderful, wonderful, exhilarating.
Week 1 of the Aggie football season. Fans had to wait 3 extra weeks to see their team take the field, but it was all worth it for them.
We're not going to miss it. There's really nothing that's going to get in our way from coming out here to go to the game and just kind of sit and enjoy it beforehand as well.
There was no tailgating, no spirit walk, and no interactive areas in the Pepsi fan zone and on Victory Street. Inside Kyle, the stadium was only at 25% capacity. The band didn't march at halftime. Athletic Director Ross Bjork says for the most part, things went smoothly.
There's some early confusion on when exactly you had to wear your face covering. Was it while you were seated or just when you were walking around? So clarifying things after the first game. I think after that it got a lot better.
The Aggies only played 9 SEC conference games. COVID-19 issues forced a cancellation with Ole Miss.
Disappointed we didn't host all 5 home games, of course, but to host 4 home games safely, to be undefeated at home, given all the unknowns and all the uncertainty, I think it's just a credit, just everybody that was involved to accomplish this.
But Bjork says what didn't change was the spirit of the 12th man.
Remember that stretch in the fourth quarter against Florida when their coach thought we had 75,000 people, and we had that actually was our third lowest attended game, just over 24,000 people. So when I remember that moment, and I'm thinking, hey, this is not a normal place.
Despite the challenges, Bjork says there is pride in being able to play football as safely as possible.
If you would have told us that we would be able to play 9 games, to be in the playoff conversation, and then, by the way, people were mad at me because we didn't schedule Ohio State because we missed the Ole Miss game. If you would have said all those things back in August, we would have signed up for that.
In College Station, Jessica Grunling, News 3.
When Congressman Bill Flores of Bryan announced his retirement, 15 people decided to run for his congressional seat. Fallon Appleton recaps the race that led to District 17's next representative.
We started with 15 hopefuls. After one candidate dropped out, 3 Democrats and 11 Republicans remained. Healthcare was a priority.
No one should have to sell their homes in order to pay for their medical.
So was the border.
We need to secure our borders in every way possible, human, technological, and a wall, so we know who's coming into our country.
Republican Renee Swan got the backing of Congressman Flores.
The type of thoughtful, effective leadership that we need in Washington today, and I'd be honored to have her take this seat moving forward.
But by March, everything changed. Not only the names on the ballot, but across the world.
The first positive case of COVID-19 was reported this morning in Brazos County. Health officials say the positive case is a woman in her 20s.
The COVID-19 pandemic was an unforeseen challenger in the race for District 17. Republican Pete Sessions, Democrat Rick Kennedy, and Libertarian Ted Brown met in the general election.
It's been a challenge, to say the least. We've tried to do everything we can to be innovative, to be online as much as we can, to engage people with Zoom meetings.
After an unprecedented year, Pete Sessions won District 17 with 56% of the vote. Looking to 2021, he says one of his top priorities is internet access.
We must absolutely make sure that what we're doing is going to this broadband exercise. We've got to understand the needs. We've got to understand setting priorities.
Focusing on what people need is how Sessions believes he will be successful in his return to Washington.
Be a bearer of ideas about how to solve issues and go to the solution of issues instead of the fight. The fight really does us no good.
Fallon Appleton, News 3.
Well, I came out to support our president, to show our community that there is support for our president.
On land and on water, supporters of President Donald Trump remained loyal in 2020. Drive-by parades and boat parades were held across the Brazos Valley. The events drew people from across different parts of the state. And those weren't the only demonstrations we saw this year. Protests were held across the country and here at home following the death of George Floyd. He died while in custody of Minneapolis police. In a spring that saw protests, one of the largest in our community was this one in downtown Bryan.
We came early. We came around 4:30, and this block here right behind me was almost full.
Ebony Peterson is with BCS Black Lives Matter. She was surprised by the turnout since the rally was organized in just one day.
I was not expecting over 250 people.
Weeks later, demonstrators showed up at Texas A&M to protest or show support
the father of traditions at Texas A&M
for the statue of Lawrence Sullivan Ross.
I'm very proud of the school, but I'm not proud of a lot of the traditions that they hold so close to their heart. So, I mean, America, it's all about growth, and we want to see a change.
The statue of Ross has been on campus since 1919, but events this year had some Aggies asking if his role as university president outweighs his ties with the Confederacy.
This has nothing to do with hate. This has nothing to do with anything that's going on. This is just our university coming together to try and support a man who essentially kept us here, because if not, Texas A&M would not be here today.
In July, University President Michael K. Young announced 45 people had been selected for a commission to evaluate diversity, equity, and inclusion on the Texas A&M campus. And in June, hundreds of people watched a community forum online and in person. Local law enforcement leaders and the district attorney met to answer questions on topics like de-escalation training, how officers are held accountable, and what law enforcement officers believe creates community division. And I got to tell you, it was an honor to help moderate such an important discussion. All right, coming up, Chief Meteorologist Shel Winkley takes a look back at an Atlantic hurricane season that will be one for the history books.
The new year calls for a new look. During the New Year's Super Sale at Furniture Row, find the latest styles in living, dining, bedroom, and mattresses. Is it comfy? Because it looks comfy. And best of all, the more you buy, the more you save. Save $100 on every $1,000 you spend and watch the savings add up. Plus 5 years no interest financing and free shipping right to your doorstep. Your new look is waiting at the New Year's Super Sale, only at Furniture Row.
Right now, buy 4 new tires and get a free alignment at Allen Samuel Chevrolet Buick GMC. You can count on the technicians in our service department to keep your vehicle running smoothly and on the road. We offer a multi-point inspection and service everything, including batteries, brakes, and oil changes. From basic maintenance to parts and major repairs, you can trust the professionals at Allen Samuels.
Call us or visit us today at Allen Samuel Chevy Buick GMC on Highway 6 South and Hearn. Come by, let's be friends.
COVID-19 cases continue to rise sharply in our community.
You already know what to do. Stay at least 6 feet away from others, wash your hands frequently, and wear a mask when others are near.
It's also essential to avoid large gatherings, even with your extended family.
A mask may not be comfortable or convenient, but it will help us keep our businesses open.
Together, we can keep our residents and visitors safe and restore our economy.
We've had hurricanes before, but we've made it all right. But this year, I think, is probably going to be one of the worst.
And in the end, it absolutely was. In fact, this hurricane season will be the benchmark for every other tropical season going forward. A total of 30 named storms in 2020. This year now tops the list for being the most active hurricane season on record. Perhaps the one that had the most impact on us here at home, that was Hurricane Laura. It created tropical storm warnings for portions of the Brazos Valley ahead of landfall. The wind from Laura and Delta stopped just short of our eastern reaches, but a shift in that track to the west about 50 to 100 miles could have drastically changed what those storms meant for us locally. Starting with Cristobal, each storm this season became the earliest of its letter to form. The previous records were held back in 2005, and here's a look at those two seasons side by side. And notice 2020 outpaced its 15-year-old counterpart through a very hectic and devastating month of September. For only the second time, we exhausted all standard names and were forced to use the Greek alphabet. And for the first time ever, the National Hurricane Center issued advisories for Eta, Theta, and Iota. This is a look at the Atlantic Basin throughout the season. All 30 storms, you can tell, is a mess, but the biggest and most hard-hit places was the Gulf Coast, particularly Louisiana, which had 2 major hurricanes make landfall tens of miles from each other and was in the forecast cone of uncertainty 8 times. Hannah was the only hurricane to make landfall in Texas and South Texas. Marco and Laura, they were famous for being in the Gulf at the same time. There was speculation they could pull off what's called a Fujiwara effect, a dance around each other. But Marco fizzled while Laura rapidly intensified into a monster storm. And of the many others, Delta devastated parts of Louisiana that had already seen the worst from Laura just a few weeks prior. The Gulf Coast capped off the season with Zeta and Eta making landfall all the way through the beginning part of November.
Here's Here's another story that had lots of Aggies talking this year. A portion of the roof at the famous Dixie Chicken collapsed in May. A spokesperson for the bar says heavy rain combined with hail and wind eventually led to that collapse. The good news is no one was hurt. Businesses in the Brazos Valley have had a tough 2020. Some have called it quits, while others have opened their doors for the first time. Clay Falls looks back at how our business community handled the pandemic.
2020 saw some well-known businesses close in Bryan and College Station. Retail stores like Aeropostale and Post Oak Mall, Pier 1, and Motherhood Maternity closed their locations. Restaurants were hit the hardest. Genghis Grill and Urban Bricks closed shop before the pandemic really hit hard. Chef Tay Lee announced he would close Madden's Casual Gourmet New Year's Eve, while Veritas closed in August.
I think, one door closed and the other will open. But financially, it was a very hard thing to upkeep this concept of a restaurant on a fine dining, especially when most of our clientele came from the nearby hotel guests.
Lee opened a new concept at Veritas's location called Salt. Next door, Abuelo's Mexican restaurant remains empty. So does the Red Lobster further down the street. In October, locally owned Pie in the Sky closed.
For me personally, it was a great experience working here, and the food is fantastic, and I always enjoyed seeing everybody come in and their smiling faces. So it's definitely been sad for everybody involved, including the employees that work here.
But new restaurants did open this year. Tilted Pint in Bryan to Boomtown Barbecue in College Station.
We've been looking around at other cities in Texas, college towns. Our oldest daughter graduated from A&M in 2015, so we were familiar with the area.
We also saw long lines as Dunkin' Donuts finally opened. A new Dutch Brothers coffee shop will open right beside it.
We are getting ready to have another new Italian place opening, 1860 Italia on Arrington Road. So looking forward to that. A lot of new restaurants in South College Station. So that South College Station market is getting a variety of amenities.
Proving that despite the coronavirus pandemic, business owners are still taking a chance on Bryan and College Station. Clay Falls, News 3.
Coming up, 2020 had its fair share of crime. We take a look back at some of the biggest stories.
A new year calls for a new look. During the New Year's Super Sale at Furniture Row, find fresh designs store-wide and save $100 on every $1,000 you spend. Plus 5 years no interest and free shipping. The New Year's Super Sale, only at Furniture Row.
Hey Jack, did John get those chores done? We got to get the Kubota packages delivered ASAP.
He wrapped the packages? Put bows on the packages? Loaded the packages?
Jack, all you got to do is tell them about the Kubota packages.
Santa brings packages, we bring package deals.
Get your compact tractor package as low as $229 a month and no payments for 90 days at WC Tractor.
A new year calls for a new look. During the New Year's Super Sale at Furniture Row, find fresh designs store-wide and save $100 on every $1,000 you spend. Plus 5 years no interest and free shipping. The New Year's Super Sale, only at Furniture Row.
We did see a bit of crime in 2020. Erica Fernandez takes a look back, starting with one that actually began on New Year's Eve last year.
What started as a mystery homicide in the last few hours of 2019,
we need your help to solve Ashley's murder,
wrapped up with charges in March of 2020. 20-year-old Ashley Stewart was found dead inside her apartment on December 31st, but a warrant wasn't issued for her murder until nearly 3 months later. 23-year-old Ricardo Ramirez was arrested and charged. Investigators never publicly released how Stewart was killed. In May, a violent assault led to the death of 53-year-old Loretta Aguirre in Bryan. She was stabbed and her body was found inside a large duffel bag. 24-year-old Ike Deshaun Newton of Snook was arrested in connection.
Typically, there's a backstory to any kind of violent crime like this. It's not just random crime events and sprees.
3 suspects accused of taking part in a fatal drive-by shooting on June 3rd were indicted by a Brazos County grand jury in September. Arian Brown and Demetrius Thomas were indicted on murder and unlawful possession of a firearm by a felon. Deshaun Franklin was indicted on 3 counts of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. The 3 men are responsible for killing Derek O'Brien Smith on Clark Street in Bryan.
I want justice for my son. I don't care what they give him, but I think they should be charged with murder.
An argument led 58-year-old Alton Curry to pull the trigger on 48-year-old James Zykis over a game of dominoes. Curry tried to leave the scene and reportedly pointed his weapon at officers. He was charged with murder and 2 counts of aggravated assault against a public servant. The family of Latravian T. Baby Thomas is still demanding answers after the 20-year-old was murdered in a double shooting outside a Bryan apartment in August. The Bryan High graduate had a young daughter and was working on his college degree.
If he considered you a friend, you had a friend for life, and there's nothing he wouldn't do for his friend.
Erica Fernandez, News 3.
This convicted drug dealer learned her fate in 2020. Her smiling mugshot received international attention after her arrest in 2015. Police found large amounts of meth, cocaine, and marijuana in her College Station apartment. 5 years later, Sarah Ferre was sentenced to 8 years in prison. In October, this guy was arrested after police say he stole plants from homes in Bryan. The suspect was even caught on camera. Residents say the plants were ripped from their gardens. During the investigation, many of those stolen plants were recovered. And the Brazos Valley saw multiple fatal plane crashes in recent months. In August, 3 people died in a crash at Coulter Field in Bryan. The lone survivor, Luke Armstrong, continues his road to recovery. Nearly a month later, a plane crashed near Huntsville. Both passengers walked away. 2 days later, all 4 people aboard a plane died in a crash in Leon County. Armstrong, meanwhile, says he will always remember those he flew with that tragic summer day.
I have, the memory of driving to the airport and getting in the plane, and that's it. And I'm comfortable with that being the last, memory I have of the people I was flying with. They were all great, and I have great memories that I'll carry with me forever.
We have more information on the findings by the NTSB on these crashes linked to this story at KBTX.com. Coming up, how local nonprofits were still able to give back despite the challenges of the pandemic.
Ashley Home Store's New Year's sale is going on now. Every single item in the store has been tagged with huge savings. Plus, get 0% interest for 3 years with no minimum purchase. Shop and save big today at Ashley Home Store. This is home.
I know this all looks very Hollywood, but guess what? This is a Nissan sales event ad. Sales event ads are usually boring. Is this boring? There's a nice little present. This Sentra has more standard safety features than that 3 Series behind me. What? Did you want a big red bow?
Lease Sentra, just $189 per month.
Ashley Home Store's New Year's sale is going on now. Every single item in the store has been tagged with huge savings. Plus, get 0% interest for 3 years with no minimum purchase. Shop and save big today at Ashley Home Store. This is home.
A Texas A&M study found that nearly half of our local nonprofits were operating at a severely reduced capacity or not at all because of the pandemic. 2 reasons: less funding and more necessary health precautions. Kathleen Ninke looks back at how they found a way anyway.
This is nothing like we've seen before.
2020 changed everything for local nonprofits. For one, the donors who used to give their resources this year needed them.
Our mission is a hunger-free Brazos Valley, and right now I cannot say that that is the case.
The kids are still coming through our doors. They need to be served.
The Brazos Valley heard the call on KBTX.
Take a look, more than $94,000 so far, but it doesn't have to stop there. In fact,
and donated more than $1 million to the United Way COVID-19 Relief Fund this spring. The money helped many nonprofits adjust to working in a pandemic.
The COVID-19 Relief Fund allowed us to adapt to a new reality and move all of our services online.
What also moved online? The luncheons and the banquets. 2020 was the year of the live-streamed fundraising event.
Well, the Salvation Army is also training to fight the fight every single day against poverty.
And because the need continues every single day, there were other huge fundraisers online, like Brazos Valley Day of Giving, which raised $800,000.
Our community has provided some funds that are going to sustain them for the next couple of months.
From online giving to drive-through distribution, many nonprofits brought services straight to your car window.
To make access not be a barrier, we're going to those communities.
All culminating in the KBTX Food for Families food drive. Even when 2020 brought the bad, it brought out the good in the Brazos Valley.
We're seeing a world that is changing because of the COVID. Us that can need to help those that can.
Kathleen Ninke, News 3.
And of course, we want to thank you for all you have done to help KBTX do for our community this year. Our Food for Families food drive raised more than $248,000 this year. In May, you also stepped up for the Food for Families Fund drive. That brought in nearly $130,000 for the food bank, and we raised nearly $120,000 for our neighbors and friends affected by COVID-19. On First News at 4, you kicked in some cash for our virtual tip jar to help local nonprofits, and you helped out so many other amazing causes that shared their story with us here at KBTX. And this year, KBTX and Daniel Stark Injury Lawyers have awarded 25 individuals or groups with our Be Remarkable Award. Rusty Surratt looks back on the winners and their amazing accomplishments.
Well, you are true.
Every other Monday, we surprise someone in the Brazos Valley doing remarkable work to make this a better place to live. And this year, even during a pandemic, we met more than 24 people and organizations who have humbly accepted the Be Remarkable Award. People like Brandy Trujillo, Janine Furman, and Andrea Benning.
It was special education or bust. My classroom is full of very diverse learners, a lot of activity, a lot of noise and chaos, but I wouldn't have it really any other way.
Local legends like Lester Banks and Gloria Kennard were also recipients this year.
Oh, well, you look beautiful, and we are thrilled to be here. This whole community is thankful for you.
We also had a first in 2020 for the Be Remarkable Award. We surprised not one, but two people at the same place. Wes and Evelyn Priest have devoted countless hours to mentoring and helping kids at Still Creek Ranch.
You have been nominated.
M.A. Sterling at Brazos Valley Troop was honored this year for all he's done to help build confidence in our children. Max Gerald helped the Invisible Aggies on A&M's campus. We also spotlighted nurses, nurse instructors, and someone known around town as the Pumpkin Patch Queen. Connie Flickinger helps to run the Habitat for Humanity Pumpkin Patch fundraisers. She and Glow Hayes, Jackie Paha, Don and Sue Calhoun, Dustin Batson, and so many more are just a few of this year's winners. If you have someone remarkable, we're ready to recognize them in 2021. To submit a nomination, go online to kbtx.com/beremarkable. I'm Rusty Surratt.
Okay, is anybody else an emotional wreck after that roller coaster year we've had? Well, KBTX is looking forward to the stories that we will be able to tell in 2021. We wish you a very safe and happy New Year.
If we spend a third of our life sleeping, shouldn't we try to get the best sleep possible? That's why Denver Mattress is all about that sleep life. And during the New Year's Super Sale, save $100 on every $1,000 you spend. Score free shipping and check out the Summit Firm for only $199.99. Save $100 on our entire Doctor's Choice lineup. Or purchase a Tempur-Pedic and get a free $300 Furniture Row gift certificate, plus 5 years no interest financing. Denver Mattress, the easiest way to get the right mattress.
Awesome show and tell, Jimmy.
Thank you.
Where's yours, Susie? Whoa!
They may be compact, but we know they're a huge part of your life. It feels great to provide people an affordable tractor that does all they need. One that's all Kubota, that I know will last, that just makes life better. At WC Tractor Kubota.
Get one for 0 down, 0% APR up to 84 months, plus more now through December 31st.
Share more joy this holiday season with Suddenlink. Now your whole family can game, stream, and share more memories than ever with fast and reliable internet for as low as $20 a month. That means more bandwidth for the whole family. Plus, you can get gig speeds for even faster connections. And now's your last chance to get it at a price that's for life. Give your family more holiday memories to share with internet from Suddenlink for as low as $20 a month with no annual contract. Visit suddenlink.com/fast to get your share of these deals before they're gone.
Dr. Keith Paul, caring for allergies in